So hi guys, today I'm going to be doing a video kind of similar to how I used to do for a while. You know, back when I used to talk about episodes of Smallville, before I kind of fell out of doing it. That's what I'm going to kind of do with this video. This one's kind of inspired by someone I subscribe to. But even though this is a video I've been wanting to do for quite a while now, but this person kind of helped inspire me to finally actually do this, because this person actually did a video just like this about a month or so ago. And that's basically, this video I'm going to talk about the Terminator series, the movie series, not the Sarah Connor Chronicles. But hopefully I can do this a little bit better this time around, because I don't know what's going on with me. The attempt before this one, I don't know if it's just I talk too slow or I try to give out too much information, because I mean, it was like 15 minutes. I was still talking about Terminator 2, and I've seen people talk about all four movies within that same amount of time, if not less. But anyway, let's get to it. First up, obviously, is the Terminator and Terminator 2. Almost fell out. The Terminator and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Both of them with the covers that that change and all that. The first Terminator stars Michael Biehn, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Linda Hamilton. Essentially, the backstory to it is, which I'm sure we all know, but the backstory is that in the future, basically well, they're not really post-apocalyptic stories, even though they have that element to them. I guess you could say the first two are pre-apocalyptic story movies. I guess, I don't know, but basically though, the Terminator, you find out that at some point in the upcoming future, a military defense grid named Skynet becomes self-aware and essentially takes over and launches an attack on mankind to eliminate people everywhere. And in the process, which is called Judgment Day. But after Judgment Day, people are basically, the machines start herding people together to terminate them. And in the process, a man by the name of John Connor, as explained by Carl Reese, he's able he shows people how to fight back and destroy the machines, and eventually he leads the resistance against Skynet. And ultimately in 2029, scoring a major victory against Skynet that ultimately will, eventually bring Skynet down, I guess. Before that happens, Skynet, in a last-ditch attempt, sends a T-800 back in time to kill John's mother before John is born. Because obviously, if Sarah is killed before John is born, then John will never exist, and it's kind of like dominoes. Everything falls into place. And in response, the Resistance sends back a soldier by the name of Kyle Reese to find Sarah and protect her from the T-800. That's basically the first movie. And the second movie it basically follows the same plot. In addition to the protection. This time around, though, Terminator 2 takes place in 1995, which is 10 years later. By this point, Sarah has been committed to a psychiatric hospital because she tried to blow up I think it's later supposed to be Cyberdyne, because she was trying to stop Judgment Day from happening. And at this point, John is 10 years old, despite what Terminator 3 tries to say. He's 10. Thank you. Essentially, though, John at this point, John is living with his foster parents, and he's pretty skilled with computer hacking, and he's more or less a delinquent at this point. This time around, Skynet sends a T-1000 to target John himself when he was 10 years old, and the Resistance again sends back a protector, but this time it's a T-800, still played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it's a reprogrammed one, unlike the first one where the T-800 was a villain. And essentially, in addition to the protecting part of the storyline, this time around, the Terminator, Sarah Jane, and the man himself responsible for developing Skynet in this timeline, Miles Dyson, set off to destroy Cyberdyne in an attempt to stop Judgment Day from happening and use Skynet from ever coming to be. Yeah, to be honest with you, I mean, the Terminator, the first one is pretty good. I mean, I don't think anyone would deny that who is a fan of the series. The Terminator is pretty good. I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. Terminator 2 is probably my favorite. Well, it's not even probably. Terminator 2 is actually not only, I think, my favorite of the series, but my favorite movie of all time altogether. I mean, and one thing I love about Terminator 2 is that, I mean, watching it, it has such an early 90s feel to it. I mean, just watch it sometime and really think about that. I mean, just watching it, you can tell this came out in the early 90s. It just reeks of early 90s to me. I mean, that's certainly not a bad thing or anything, but I'm just pointing that out. I love that. However, it's kind of weird how James Cameron did, the first one and this one. It's almost like he couldn't make up his mind, or he decided to change it around how, time travel and all that works. With the first one, it almost seems like everything that happens is meant to happen, or it has a reason for happening. It's almost like destiny, I guess, or fate, or whatever. I mean, if you really think about it, you probably know. You can probably tell. You probably know what I'm talking about. From the first one. But with Terminator 2, I mean, obviously, things. I mean, they just happen, I guess, more or less. I mean, there's no discernible reason for it. More or less, because I mean. Like what I mean is, obviously Kyle had to go back in time for John to be born. That Terminator that went back in time to kill John obviously went on to was the thing that caused Skynet to be developed. So it's kind of like, do you get what I'm saying though? And anyway, I mean, I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just kind of pointing that out, but. I definitely think Terminator 2 is the best of the series. Not that Terminator 1 is not good, but it's just I like Terminator 2 better. But anyway, and I mean, both of them are very great movies in their own right. However, unfortunately, that leads us to Terminator 3 and 4. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, which actually is ironically, I think the ironic thing about this movie is that Terminator 3 is actually the only Terminator movie I've seen in theaters, and at the same time, it's actually the Terminator movie I like the least. By far, I like this one the least. This time around, I can never remember the exact year. It's either 2003 or 2004. I can't remember. By this point, John. I mean, by this point, Sarah has passed away. Unfortunately, we find out that through their actions in Terminator 2, Judgment Day actually was not delayed. Well, it was not stopped, but it was only delayed a few years. Instead of happening in 1997, Judgment Day, I think now happens in, what was it, like 2003, I think it was, or was it 2004? I can't remember. I really don't like to think about this movie. Anyway, but at this point though, Sarah has died of leukemia, and John is living completely off the grid. He still believes that they stopped Judgment Day, but he's still kind of paranoid about it. So he just kind of lives off the grid. Doesn't want anything to do with anything. Just whatever. He lives a transient lifestyle. And basically, like at the beginning of the movie, he's a construction worker, but that's only briefly though. And basically, at the beginning of the movie, he's riding a motorcycle and doing a voiceover when he accidentally crashes and needing some medicine but not wanting to go to a doctor. He breaks into a vet's office to steal medication, to take obviously. But in the process, the vet that works there, Kate Brewster, catches him and locks him in a cage. And it turns out that she and John knew each other when they were kids, and he was making out with her like the night before he met the Terminator in Terminator 2. So says this movie. Basically, and this time around, the villain Terminator is a female, played by Christina Loken. I heard at one point they were gonna get China from the wrestler to play her, but obviously they didn't do that. Arnold still comes back in time to protect John, and it's more or less the same thing as the first one in that regard. The second one in that regard. I don't know what. Well, let me put it like this: you can tell this was not directed or written by James Cameron. It's very apparent it was not. If you want my honest opinion, it's far below the first two movies. I would probably give this one a 6 out of 10, 7 maybe. I did not really like this very much. I'm not going to lie. I mean, special effects were nice and all that, the action sequences. And probably the one good thing I will say about this movie, about Terminator 3, is that... Oops, I just dropped it, but who cares? The one good thing I will say about it is I did like the ending to it. I mean, that was the one thing I liked best about it. Although, admittedly, I will admit... I will admit, though, I know I'm in the minority on this, and I'm sure I'll get somebody saying, well, I'm glad they ended it like that because I don't like Hollywood heavy endings, blah, blah, blah. Whoop-de-freaking-do for you. I don't care. But I know I'm in the minority on this, but I actually was one of the apparently few people that actually wanted them to prevent Judgment Day from happening. But, that's me, though. But still, though, I mean, the ending was pretty cool, though. And one of the reasons I did not like the movie is I didn't like some of the humor in it. I mean, it felt very out of place. Talk to the hand. No Terminator should ever utter that phrase. I'm sorry. No, it's not going to happen. But and then another thing too is apparently somebody who wrote this movie cannot add. Because they for some reason they had John Connor being 13 in Terminator 2, even though they quite plainly say he's 10, in the second one. But whatever. Moving on. Last up is Terminator Salvation, which I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it seems like if you go to the IMDb boards, no one seems to be able to agree between Terminator 3 and Terminator Salvation. No one seems to be able to agree which one they thought was the better movie. I mean, even to this day, people are still arguing which one they think is better. Personally, I like Salvation better than Terminator 3. I mean, it's still not nearly as good as the first two, but honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed this one better than I did Terminator 3. I can understand the reasoning behind it, but one thing I didn't like about it is the fact that in 2018 John Connor is still some low-level knucklehead who's taking orders from every random person. I mean, the director and all that, they've explained the logic behind why that is, but I mean, I can totally understand it, but I still don't like it. I don't know, it just feels too weird to me, if you want to know my personal opinion. Yeah, Terminator 4 is different from the previous three in that it finally takes place in the future, and like I said, in 2018. And you know, believe me, this movie too had its share of weird, unexplainable things, and things that you gotta sit back and wonder, you know, why didn't they just do this or that? Like probably the biggest example of that is Skynet actually at one point captures Kyle Reese, and Skynet actually specifically knows who Kyle Reese is and his importance, and yet he doesn't do anything to him. I mean, think about that. He's right there. He's your prisoner. You know he's the father of John Connor. You know you're going to send a Terminator back in time to kill Sarah for the very same reason that what killing Kyle accomplished. So, you know what I'm saying though? But one thing, probably the one thing I most wanted to talk about with this movie. Oh my freaking goodness! If it was the original intended ending to this. Oh. If they had ended this movie the way they originally planned on it, I'm not gonna lie, I would have just tossed this and Terminator 3 out the window, which I'm already on the verge of doing anyway here and there. But had they ended it like this, I would have just pretended, you know, they never happened. It ended at Terminator 2. If you don't know how the original ending was going to go, this is how, and I'm not joking at all in this. This is actually seriously what I've read how they were going to do. Originally, before it got leaked and there was a fan uproar about it, you know the scene where John gets stabbed, you know, in the chest, and it gets Marcus Marcus sacrifices himself to save John. Originally, John was actually going to die, and they were going to take John's skin and transplant it onto Marcus, and he was going to become John Connor. I'm not even joking. Unfortunately, though, the ending got leaked, and like I said, like a lot of fans, you know, uproared about it, and they changed it. Thank goodness, because, ugh, it makes me mad every time I think about how they were actually planning on ending that. I really wish James Cameron would come back and take back the reins of this series. Even though I know what he said about it, you know, about Terminator 2 being it for him, but I mean, I remember when I found out Terminator 3 was being made, I was so excited. But seeing as how they turned, like the sequel, Terminator 3 and 4 turned out, and what they were going to do with it, I really don't know if I want them to make any more sequels. You know, to be honest with you, I almost kind of wish Terminator 2 had been it, looking back. And the ironic thing is that James Cameron almost actually made sure of that. Because, you know, the original ending for Terminator 2 was not the ending we have, but in the original ending for Terminator 2, you know, I'm sure as we all know by now, it was going to be definite that they prevented Judgment Day. I'm not going to explain the ending because I'm running out of time, but if you want to see it, look up Terminator: The Alternate Ending here on YouTube. You can find it. It won't be too hard to find. But anyway, like I said, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to have to end here. So thank you for watching, and see you guys next time.